It is such an honor to be here with you all this evening. I'm grateful for the opportunity to be with my CAIR family. I'm grateful for the opportunity to be here at such an important event to make sure that this organization remains financially sturdy, but also culturally connected. I'm not that excited to be in Florida. This ain't really my spot no more, you know. But if I'm gonna be in Florida, this is the right people to be with. I could not imagine a more complicated and challenging time to be together. We are just 2 days, is it 2 days? I keep hoping it's, like 200 days, but it's 2 days away from the inauguration of Donald J. Trump. I'm sure there's people in this room that voted for Trump, and I'm sure there are people here who did not. That's not my interest today. As our brilliant state representative said, neither of the parties look that different these days. As Muslims, both parties have failed us. And so me mentioning Monday is not to say that we are going from good to bad, but rather that we are going to continue to have to fight. And we may be going, as they say, from the frying pan into the fire. It may actually get worse. Why? We are returning to a moment or to an administration that administered an actual Muslim ban. Remember that? It wasn't 20 years ago, it was like 8. A moment where Muslims from Syria, Muslims from Lebanon, Muslims from Palestine, Muslims from Yemen, Muslims from Somalia, Saudi Arabia, you cool. Refugees were not allowed into this country. A moment where immigrants who are brown, whether they come from south of the border, whether they come from South Sudan, doesn't matter, where they have been seen as less human, where they have been seen as criminals, where they have been seen as dangerous. We are entering a moment where our government has waged war on black and brown people. A nation that has waged war on South Asian and Arab brothers and sisters. And to them, to be Arab is to be Muslim. To be South Asian is to be Muslim. To them, all of us are targeted. All of us are under attack. We are at a moment where our schools are designing curriculum to write us out of history. They're not just writing black people out of history, although that's the primary target. They're also then writing out the Muslim influence on history. They are writing out the impact of Islam in America. They are writing out the humanity of the Muslim community. And when you write out the humanity of people, when you erase the contributions of a people, when you delete the value of a people, you dehumanize those people. And once you dehumanize those people, it becomes easy to do anything you want to those people. That's why the media becomes so important. Every single day, as American citizens, as viewers, I don't care what channel you watch, although you should watch Al Jazeera on Fridays, up front. We have equated terrorism with Muslims, and brown Muslims too. In this country, 12.5% of terrorist acts are committed by Muslims and or Arabs. 12.5%. But when you categorize the representations of terrorism, Muslims, 385% more than any other group. Y'all get what I'm saying? So terrorists do a little bit of this and they happen to be identified as Muslim. I don't know if they're Muslim or not. But for every Muslim that commits a bad act, or for every 2 Muslims that commit a bad act, about another 8 aren't Muslim. But they don't show the other 8 on TV. The biggest purveyors of terrorism in this country are white nationalists. The biggest purveyors of terrorism, it's not the brother who's the dentist in that video we saw. It's the drunk white man on the bench. Because if you're that drunk white man on the bench telling people that you are going to harm them or kill them and get out of my country, that logic becomes an act of terror. It becomes embodied in an act of terror. And so the terrorism is committed by the KKK in this country. The terrorism is burning a cross on somebody's lawn. But we don't call that terrorism. And so when this country hears terrorism, they think of Muslims. And the problem with that is that then when they see Muslims, because there are so few representations of Muslims, they see terrorists. And so that becomes easy to raise the suspicions. That becomes easy to enact dangerous laws. It becomes easier to collectively punish and blame Muslims for everything. It becomes easier to surveil our communities. It becomes easier to put moles inside of our masjids. It becomes easier to kick Muslim children out of school. It becomes easier to turn a blind eye to women in hijab on the subway or on the train. Or on the beach, maybe not on the beach, but somewhere. It becomes easier to do these things because we have normalized a society where Muslims are seen as second-class citizens. That's why I say this moment is so challenging. It's hard. It's hard because we're facing so much. We're struggling with so much. We're being represented so poorly in the media, but also in Congress. We're in a moment of genocide. Make no mistake about it, we remain in a moment of genocide. For the last 15 months, this country has funded, armed, defended, and enabled Israel to prosecute a genocidal war on the people of Gaza. This was a Democratic administration. These were the good guys. Ain't that what they told us? These were the good guys. I saw an interview with your president, Joseph Robinette Biden. I don't know if, they say like a drunk mind tells sober truths. You get somebody, you give enough Attic in somebody, they start telling you stuff they never told you before. I love you, man. We don't drink in this room, I'm just saying, that's what they say. I don't know if it is age or if Joe Biden is like, look, I got 2 days left on the job, I don't care no more, I'm showing up late, I'm wearing shorts, whatever. But he does an interview and he says, I told Netanyahu not to carpet bomb people. I told Netanyahu, you can't do that, man. Netanyahu said, y'all did it. It's like a 10-year-old conversation. You guys did it in World War II. Biden is conceding that Israel has committed war crimes, the crime of genocide. But guess what? If you, Mr. Biden, fund a genocide, you are also a war criminal. If you support a war crime knowingly, you are also a war criminal. It is not just a crime to commit genocide. We have a duty to prevent all acts of genocide. Why am I saying this? I'm saying that we are in a country that is endorsing the death of people all around the world, and that's the Democrats. And some of us in this room, like our Muslim brothers and sisters in Michigan, said, well, we can't do that. We can't in good conscience vote for this person, so we're going to vote for that person. But what you really said is, we ain't going to vote for this warmonger. We're going to vote for that warmonger. Because that warmonger said, I would have done the same thing. I would have just told him to finish the job. So please, family, I'm telling you this because I need you to understand that we are not leaving a danger zone. We are not entering safety. We have not changed directions. We have only changed drivers. And so I need you to stay alert. I need you to stay sharp. I need us to stay engaged. Because, alhamdulillah, we have entered a moment of ceasefire. Allegedly. But it hasn't happened yet. And since the ceasefire was announced, at least based on the last data I saw, and I'm sure it's been more now, 85 Palestinians have been killed since the ceasefire. Netanyahu said today that the ceasefire holds for the first phase, but they reserve the right to strike again in phase 2. What kind of ceasefire is this? But it's not just Palestine. It's not just Gaza. Although we must also think about the West Bank. Because incoming President Trump says that the West Bank is also up for grabs. That annexing the West Bank is okay. He's the one who cut UNRWA funds permanently. Biden cut it temporarily. Trump is going to cut it permanently, as he did before. We are in a danger zone. We're at a moment where hate is normalized. But this is also a moment of tremendous hope. This is also a moment of tremendous hope. The family who was harassed 50 years ago would have had no one to turn to, or few people to turn to. But rather than just going home and feeling the pain and the terror of American terrorism, and that man was the face of American terrorism, make no mistake about it, they had a well-organized institutional system that could defend them, that could protect them, and that could hold power accountable. Please understand, power will never, as the great Frederick Douglass said, power concedes nothing without a demand. What that mean? It means the powerful will do nothing if you just ask. You got to apply pressure. The police officers say what? Oh, that's free speech. Everything's fine. They say, okay. To quote another great philosopher, Usher Raymond, watch this. That's what activism is. That's what organizing is. Marching and chanting and sitting in, it doesn't fix the problem, but it puts a spotlight on the problem, which then allows us to organize in such a way that we can fix the problem. I grew up poor. We had roaches. Anybody here have roaches? Ever have roaches growing up? Y'all too, okay, y'all know, you dignified people, you can do your little hand here, I know. I see y'all. Thing about roaches is, they do whatever they want in your house. When the lights are off, roaches will eat your food, they will rearrange your furniture, They will DVR Abbott Element. They will do whatever they want in your house when the lights are off. But when you flick the light on, what do? They scatter. The work that we must do is to keep a constant light on those people. We are the light. Y'all can guess who the roaches are. I don't want to be on tape calling people roaches. But our organizing efforts, our responses are a light. Having our own media platforms to point out the injustice, that is the light. Watching Muslim children get harassed for wearing hijab, we must put a light on it. And when that light comes on, they responded differently. When CAIR put a light on that man on the bench, what did the police do? Then they tried to get some accountability. When we put a light on the death in Gaza, then what happened? I worked at CNN. Y'all might have heard. And for years, we never showed a Palestinian death. Our headlines would be 5 Israeli soldiers killed. Never mind the fact that 80 Palestinian babies were dead in the same interaction. But we never showed it. So all the world saw was poor dead Israeli soldiers. And I don't endorse the death of anybody. I don't want anybody to die. But I darn sure don't want 80 babies to die. But when we put a spotlight on those deaths, when we had our own media outlets to tell the true story of what's happening, that when Al-Shifa Hospital is blown up, all the children there that died and all the people on respirators and all the babies on incubators, when we tell those stories, the world responded differently. Operation Cast Lead in 2008 was the first moment where we started to see something different. Operation Protective Edge in 2016, Ferguson summer, the world saw more. And so we did more. And right now, since October 7th, the world has responded because the world saw the light. CAIR is the light. You are the light. Our organizing efforts are the light. Our teaching efforts are the light. Our legislative efforts are the light. We have to continue to put a light on injustice. And when we do, the world will respond. But I'm going to say one more thing, I'm going to leave you alone. When I was younger, I didn't get out of breath doing this. We also have to be accountable to each other. It's not enough to just look outward. We must also look inward. We have to challenge ourselves to be better and do better. We have to stand up in solidarity with each other. We don't stand up for Palestine simply because there are Muslims in Palestine. We don't stand up for Gaza because they've destroyed all the masajid. We don't fight to defend Jerusalem simply because it was the first Qibla, because it was the site of El-Isra and El-Miraj. We don't fight for Jerusalem simply because Masjid al-Aqsa is there. We fight for Jerusalem because it is a site of injustice. We fight for Gaza because it is a site of injustice. Our solidarity work as a Muslim organization begins with Muslims. That makes sense. But we must be clear to ourselves, to the world, and to each other that our efforts of solidarity mean that we also stand up when Christians are harmed. That we also stand up to fight anti-Semitism. That we also stand up to fight economic injustice. Not just because it affects Muslims, but because as Muslims we have a duty to fight for justice wherever there is injustice. Our solidarity efforts have to be contextual. We have to understand where we are and who we fighting for and who we fighting against. That means that in a state like this, we have to stand up with black and brown people. We have to stand up for workers. Representative, when I heard you say that I think it was black trans women, certainly trans women, but certainly black trans women are among the most targeted people in this world, and certainly in this country, and certainly in this state. We got to do something about that. Room be getting quiet though. We must do something about it. We have to stand up for each other. We have to stand up with each other. That also means that we have to not just do outreach to other communities, but also check ourselves within the community. As Muslims, we have to ask ourselves, are we honoring what the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said? Regarding racism, that no one is better, the black over the white, nor the white over the black. As I said in the video, the greatest among us is what? Is determined by what? Taqwa. Our piety, our loving fear, our commitment to our faith traditions, this is what makes us great. And we can articulate that in words, but we must also articulate that in action. I travel all over the Muslim world and I see anti-blackness. And we like to pretend that it doesn't exist, but it does. I've tried to enter Masjid al-Aqsa many times, and I'll be walking down the street. It'd be 10 of us. And they'll be like, you, stop. Just like in the United States, you know. Y'all know as Arabs and people, and Muslims, you know how you always, you should play Powerball. You're just so lucky in the airport, you always get randomly picked for the search. I always get randomly picked trying to enter the mosque. Excuse me, sir. Are you Muslim? Yes. You don't look Muslim. I'm wearing a jalabiyah, like everybody else with me. What does a Muslim look like? Not you. Word for word. Now this is entering Masjid al-Aqsa. So one of these soldiers is an Israeli soldier. But the Israeli soldier, it's an Arab Israeli soldier. Yeah, I know. Yeah. But then a Jordanian guy comes over. And he says the same thing. They said, well, if you're Muslim, prove it. Recite the Shahadatain. Okay. For non-Muslims, Shahadatain, the Shahada is the declaration of faith, right? La ilaha illallah. Right? There's no God but Allah. Muhammad Rasulullah. He's like, okay, recite Surah Al-Fatiha. So I recite Surah Al-Fatiha. All right, give me Surah Al-Ikhlas. Okay, cool. All right, Surah Al-Baqarah. What? Can you imagine? But I give him a good like 12 ayat of Surah Al-Baqarah too, right? And then the Israeli soldier turns to the Jordanian soldier and says, is he right? The Jordanian soldier says, Ba'arfish. He said, I don't know. But this isn't, he ain't know. But it's no different than the United States when black people were given literacy tests by white people who couldn't read at the polls. It's not about the test. It's about showing you that you're different. So then I leave the Masjid al-Aqsa, Haram al-Sharif, and I stop at one of the stores. And the first thing you see in the store is this beautiful piece of chocolate with marshmallow inside. ايش هذا؟ شو اسم الحلوة؟ رأس العبد. I asked him, what is the name of, what is this beautiful candy? Oh, that's called Ras al-Abid. Ras al-Abid, Ras refers to the head, Abd, slave. Yeah. Some of us are laughing uncomfortably, some of us are laughing because we still think it's a little funny. That's where the discomfort comes in. That's where we have to be self-critical. That's where we have to check ourselves. Anti-blackness is everywhere, even when you think it ain't. في عنصرية في كل مكان في كل محل في كل بلد. That we will win. I have never been more certain that we will be victorious, inshallah. The genocide didn't stop because Israel got tired. It stopped because you spoke up. It stopped because there were people who were courageous. It stopped because there were students who put their lives on the line. It stopped because there were scholars who put their careers on the line. It stopped because there were Palestinians every single day who put their lives on the line. The signs are there. The evidence is on our side. The momentum is with us. Now, history is not inevitable. The victory is not guaranteed. We will win only if we do the work, but I am here to tell you that if we do the work, we will absolutely win. So let us use this moment to stand up. Let us use this moment to dust ourselves off. Let us use this moment to dry our tears. Let us use this moment to reignite our passion. Let us use this moment to remind ourselves of why we are here, what our purpose is for, who our God is, who our traditions serve, what their purpose is. Let us remember that we're here to leave the world a little bit better than we found it. That we will absolutely leave this world better than we found it. With your support, with your efforts, with your sacrifice, with your commitment, we will win. And CAIR is right at the forefront of that struggle. Every single day, CAIR does the work. While we're asleep, CAIR is working. When the lights are out, CAIR is turning them on. But CAIR does not run off of vibes. CAIR doesn't run off of hugs or smiles or nice texts or even kanafe. Although kanafe is always welcomed. CAIR runs from your economic support. So please, family, I don't want to end on a rousing speech. I want to end with a very honest and sincere plea. CAIR needs you. If everyone gives a little, no one has to give a lot. But if you have a lot, please give a lot. CAIR needs you so that they can be there for that family. CAIR needs you so that they can defend our children. CAIR needs you so that they can defend us. You see, please, family, you have to understand. We watch these videos and we cry, but one day it could be us. And if there is no CAIR, one day it will be us. So finally, let us organize, let us build, let us sacrifice, but let us commit to supporting this beautiful organization. Thank you, family. I love you. I appreciate you. Free the land, free Palestine, free all political prisoners.